President Trump is not too happy with Russian President Vladimir Putin over his continued invasion of Ukraine.
Here's the president at his cabinet meeting yesterday.
We're not happy with Putin. I'm not happy with Putin. I can tell you that much right now, because he's killing a lot of people, and a lot of people are dying, and it should end. And I don't know, we get a lot of thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
Now, Trump said he was very disappointed in Putin after the two had a call last week. The next day, Trump said he had a good call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
The Pentagon had paused some weapons deliveries to Ukraine, but Trump says he's now reversing course. Let's listen to that.
Putin is not treating human beings right. He's killing too many people. So we're sending some defensive weapons to Ukraine, and I've approved that.
So who ordered the pause last week?
I don't know. What did you tell me?
On a related note, CNN has published audio obtained by 3 authors of a new book. That book titled How Trump Retook the White House and the Democrats Lost America. The book says that during a 2024 fundraiser before becoming president, Trump told donors what he did to try to prevent Putin from invading Ukraine. Let's listen.
To Putin, I said, if you go in to Ukraine, we're going to bomb the out of Moscow. I'm telling you, I have no choice. The public wants it. The public. So he goes like, I don't believe you. He said, no way, and I said, way.
Senator Lindsey Graham introduced a new sanctions bill targeting Russia, and he says that Trump now backs it. So here we are. Look, I'm broadly comfortable with how Trump has handled the Russia-Ukraine issue in his second term. He wants to have a peace deal. It's very difficult to get peace at this point. And I would blame former President Biden for that, for encouraging the Ukrainian defense to the point where they're now totally on the verge of defeat by Russia. And Russia doesn't want to give up the effort because they think they can just conquer the entire country. And so Trump is in a very difficult negotiating position, but he is trying still to negotiate peace on behalf of Ukraine. And if Russia says they're interested in peace, but is not doing anything to signal that they actually will agree to some kind of peace, then Trump is saying, well, then to hell with them. Then we will continue to fund the Ukrainian defense. And that makes sense to me as a negotiating tactic. So I think I am on board with this. What do you say?
Well, I'll get to Trump in a second, but you said something that I can't really let go by there when you were talking about President Biden, and you said that he had made peace more difficult by encouraging the Ukrainian defense. Ukraine was invaded. A large army seized a significant part of their country. Should he have discouraged their defense? I mean, Ukraine has an interest in maintaining its territorial integrity and not letting a larger neighbor just seize its territory. So there is obviously a moral and political and strategic interest in Ukraine fighting off a Russian invasion.
Biden took the position, he said this, and his State Department said this, that there will be no end to our support for Ukraine. We will defend them to the end, to the last man. And even though military advisors to the U.S. and to Ukraine were very negative about the chance that Ukraine could entirely get Russia out of the country. So I think it was short-sighted to talk to them and have our posture to them be, yeah, we will defend you no matter what till the end of time.
But what would the alternative?
It should have been a short-term, temporary,
but then
emergency.
Putin just out. But then you say we'll support you for 6 months, and Putin knows, well, I'll stay there for 6 months.
But we use those 6 months to do negotiation. That's what.
But what would be the motivation for Putin to negotiate?
To not lose more of his people.
But he would know that he would get what he wanted because the U.S. would withdraw its support at a date certain.
I mean, you're right. If Russia is prepared to pay any cost to conquer all of Ukraine, well, then I don't know what we're doing. Then they're going to succeed at tremendous cost, and that's going to be that. I don't know that I'm going to get the U.S. involved in that point, not without like a formal declaration of war on Russia from our own Congress. But the point is, we're in this situation now, and Trump is trying to get them to sit down, and it seems like Putin, more so than Zelensky actually, is the wanting to continue conflict. And so Trump is going to say, and I put this question to guests we've had on who are more on the negative Ukraine, or Ukraine needs to surrender or give up or negotiate. I'm like, well, if Russia is not going to give any ground whatsoever, what incentive do we or Ukraine have to throw in the towel? And if Putin is committed to conquering the country, then as a negotiating tactic, it's okay for us to say we're going to then defend them more in order to bring them back to the table.
So first off, I don't believe it is certain that a Russian victory overcoming all of Ukraine is inevitable. But to get to the Trump point, to me this more aggressive rhetoric toward Putin points to the fact that Trump, though I think he does have non-interventionist instincts, but beyond that, he has very little ideological consistency on this at all. He does see it purely, I think, as transactional or deal-making, or he wants peace partly for his own aggrandizement. And so when Zelensky irritates him, he blames Ukraine for it being invaded, or he ambushes Zelensky in the Oval Office. And then Putin irritates him, and he says what he said about Putin, or decides that he's going to resume American aid to Ukraine. The problem with that is it leaves even American allies uncertain about exactly what the game plan is, or, you know, will Trump have a bad call with Zelensky tomorrow and we'll decide to pause support to Ukraine once again? I think all of this sort of volatility, I don't at all buy this sort of cunning madman theory that it keeps people wrong-footed. I just think that it is what it looks like, which is complete inconsistency.
Well, it doesn't, I mean, I'm a pretty ideological person when it comes to all issues in foreign policy, but maybe there's a strength to it not always being ideological. Mm-hmm. Trump wants peace. He wants to work with Putin, but Putin's not playing ball. Trump's increasingly onto that, and is going to say, okay, if you're, you know, I'm very much for peace and non-interventionism, but if we're dealing with another entity that absolutely wants war and will do war no matter what, that we can't negotiate with or is not willing to negotiate, then I don't know, even the most peace-inclined among us are going to say, well, okay, if that's really what you want, that's what you're going to get. So I have no problem with Trump concluding that, and I hope Putin rethinks this.
The question of him concluding it is one thing. The concern, I think, is that he concludes the opposite the next day, which is, you know, a trademark of Trump and everything from tariffs to foreign wars.
Well, if the posture from Putin changes, then the Trump response should change, is what I would say.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it seems to be much more fueled by personal atmospherics than by any strategic or principled concern, is what I would say.
Coming up, Trump vows no amnesty for illegal migrants workers, while the Agricultural Secretary offers another solution to replace the deported workers. We will get into that next.